What is the homeostatic sleep drive and what role does caffeine play? Homeostatic sleep drive is one of two main processes that modulate how we feel as humans throughout the day. We're going to be talking about the blue arrows up here. This process is a fascinating way by which your brain actually keeps track of how long you've been awake. So if we take a 24-hour span here, 9 a.m. to 9 a.m., think of the blue arrows as the larger the arrow, the sleepier you feel. You're getting sleepier and sleepier the longer you're awake, and then when you fall asleep, the homeostatic drive dissipates and you start again the next day. But how does your brain know to feel sleepy? The main tracker of time awake is the adenosine molecule from the breakdown of ATP, the main energy molecule for our body and for our brains. Adenosine builds up in brain cells throughout the day the longer we're awake. It actually ends up binding to adenosine receptors. The more adenosine you have, the more adenosine receptors that are bound. And this receptor sends a signal to tell your brain, hey, you should be feeling more and more sleepy. But here's the wild part about caffeine. The chemical structure of caffeine is actually very similar to part of adenosine. It can actually bind to those same adenosine receptors. It's actually a competitive antagonist of those receptors, which means it binds, but it does not activate that receptor, and it prevents adenosine from binding. So what's happening? It's a temporary trick to your brain that tells your brain you haven't been awake as long as you actually have. So if this is a normal day and this is the buildup of that homeostatic sleep drive, if you have caffeine at this point here, temporarily that homeostatic drive is much less. So you feel wide awake and alert and energized. But as your body metabolizes through the caffeine, you still end up at the same spot.